15th of April, 1989. That date is etched into the consciousness of the people of Liverpool. As we travelled to Sheffield on that beautiful sunny spring morning, nothing could have prepared us for that day when 96 innocent men, women and children lost their lives at a football match watching the team they loved. For over a quarter of a century, I've known the truth. After all, I was an eyewitness. I saw Liverpool fans, in the words of Justice Taylor in 1989, initiate and coordinate the rescue operation. He called them magnificent. I've always called them the heroes of Hillsborough. I went on the pitch from the North Stand about 20 minutes after the match was stopped. Most people on the pitch that day, including me, were bewildered, feeling hopeless, confused or inadequate. I asked the line of policemen deployed on the halfway line, presumably to stop what they thought was a pitch invasion, why they couldn't give first aid. But they said they couldn't move as they were waiting for orders. I saw grown men in floods of tears. The things I witnessed that day would haunt me for many years.
In the days after the disaster, the city of Liverpool was in collective shock, and Anfield became a shrine. As we tried to come to terms with our grief and our loss, and even before the families had a chance to bury their dead, we were subjected to a classic smear campaign.
A false narrative was promoted to deflect the blame away from those responsible and onto the fans. Or as Lord Stuart Smith's scrutiny said in 1997, the press reports were disgraceful lies. The heartache turned to anger.
This is the one.
This is the one.
The bench designated.
Neil Fitzmaurice was in the central pens that day. He still holds papers like the Sun in contempt for what they wrote a few days later.
When there was a movement in the crowd, a surge, if you like, you were going from here to 5 or 6, 7 feet away in seconds, and it was just being carried along, and people were losing their footing, and because you've got to remember we were on steps as well, and when people were losing their footing, they were going under, and when you were going under, you were never coming back up, and it was that simple. It got to the point really where the people who had lost conscious and worse were popping up alongside us because there was nowhere for them to fall. When those papers come out and it was talking about Liverpool fans hindering the police and saying the most vulgar things and attacking the police, it was I was dumbfounded, and it threw everything up in the air for me. I didn't know what to believe in anymore. It made me really panic.
But it was the authorities who had briefed the press with a fictitious version of events.
The city was no stranger to protest and standing up for its rights and taking on the establishment. But little did we know this would be the longest struggle in the history of the city. Liverpool's past.
Brian Reid is a campaigning journalist who for years struggled to get newspapers interested in printing the truth.
I think there's no doubt that Liverpool people by 1989 and the 90s were used to feeling that they were kind of getting the bad end of the stick, if you like. You know, there was the whole Thatcher cuts of the council with militants taking them on. There was the riots. It was the butt of every comedian's joke, you know, the Scouser jokes by then. And I think there had been a siege mentality. It was the fact that you take on one, you take on all. I've heard it since. People have written to me and said, this could only really happen. This is outsiders from Liverpool said this could only really have happened with Scousers, and everyone else would have given up a long time ago because they didn't have that sense of community.
Today's historic verdict is a vindication for the 27 years of struggle and solidarity against all the odds. I just wish some of the families and campaigners who've passed away could have witnessed this momentous day. Maybe now the 96 can rest in peace.